me co-hosting the program today. And we are delighted to have with us in studio. We don't always have guests with us in studio. It's rare, but we have Richard Headrick from Laurel, Mississippi, who's got quite a story to tell, and it's in his new book called America's Churches Through the Eyes of a Bum.
That's right. It's not too often that we get to interview a former bum. That's right.
Bum. We get a bum
on today's
in
issues.
Here. Richard, how you doing, my friend?
Hey, Tim. Good to see you.
Good to have you with us. So you live and got your business in Laurel, Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
Been there a long time?
Yes, sir. All my life.
Because I remember you and I talking 15, 20 years ago. You had a sign business.
Yes, sir. Still have.
Oh, do you still have? Okay.
Yeah, we sold off part of it back in 76, but we kept the old part and then rebuilt the one we sold off.
Before we get into your story, because folks, you're going to be fascinated by what you need to.
Yes.
I don't know, take your lunch break early or whatever you need to do, but you need to listen for the next 25 minutes because what Richard's got to say is very important and it's going to be very interesting. But before we get into this, how did you come to know the Lord personally?
I was 47 years old back in 1989, and when I was 13, I went down to the front of the church with a bunch of boys, and there were 49 of them. There were 50 of us all together. We all got baptized that night, and the other 49 really might have got Jesus in their heart. I didn't. And then I took another shot at getting saved when I was 40. But my lifestyle was definitely not conducive to the lifestyle of a Christian. And I prayed the sinner's prayer with Bailey Smith, but nothing happened. And a week later, I was back in the arena of sin. And for the next 7 years, I was one miserable guy. And I begged God to save me because I knew enough about church. I was raised in it. And I knew enough to know that if I died, I'd go to hell. And I lived in an apartment. I was divorced, and I lived in an apartment over a bar. And I'd lay on the carpet and beg God to save me. And it took 7 years, and I was one of these happy-go-lucky guys on the outside, miserable on the inside. And a little lady that worked in our company, she and our CFO got together, and they got the only man they knew that I had respect for. My dad was dead. I didn't have to answer to anybody. But they knew I respected this guy because I'd traveled all over the country with him on business. And I knew that he was a genuine article. He never cursed, never told dirty stories, never undressed women with his eyes. He didn't have beer in the fridge. He was a daddy's daddy and a husband's husband. He was the kind of guy that a lost man listened to. So they had him come by the office, take me to lunch, and we got down to this little cafe, and I started to get out of the truck, and he said, "Don't get out, we got to talk." And 2 hours and 50 minutes later, I had accepted Christ in that truck and changed my life forever. And my wife was a little girl in the office that cared enough to start praying for me with our CFO and to get me some help so that I wouldn't die and go to hell. So she's outside now. Her name's Gina.
Wow. She's outside the studio here with us. 47 years old.
Yeah.
That's rare. Most people come to know the Lord, much younger in life because you get set in your ways.
Yes.
The older you get.
Yep. And I tell, when I give my testimony in churches now, I tell them, I said, well, I got saved at 47. I lived for the devil for 47 years. So I've got to live to be 94 to give God equal time. So.
That's right. Oh,
Talking to Richard Headrick, his book is called America's Churches Through the Eyes of a Bum, the story nobody wanted told. Before we get into this, how can people find out more about your book?
Hellfighters.org is our motorcycle ministry.
You're serious?
Yes,
right?
yes, sir.
That's the name of the website.
That's it.
You're not joking.
No, hellfighters.org.
Okay.
Motorcycle ministry. We have a little store that you can buy that book through hellfighters.org.
Okay. Well, see, I just don't want to tell people to go to, you know what I'm saying, to find the book.
But it's real. It's real.
Go to hellfighters.org, people.
That's it.
Don't write me letters now.
Fighters. It's got an S.
He's fighting hell. Okay.
Yes, sir. We fight hell.
Fight hell.
That's good.
What you said. You were saved from hell.
Amen. That's it.
America's Churches Through the Eyes of a Bum is the name of the book. Now, in this book is just a story after story after story of your life as a bum traveling America.
Yes, sir.
You're going to have to tell our listeners the background here.
Okay.
to this story.
Well, it all started with a crazy preacher in Alla, Louisiana. His name was Harold Danley, and Harold's dead. He died a couple of years ago. But he knew about a vehicle that me and my wife built. It's a 3-wheel motorcycle. And you remember the old Mel Gibson movies about the after the bombs had went off and all the old scraggly vehicles that people built?
Yeah.
Well, we built one like that, made out of chain and expanded metal and stuff. And we put 2 machine guns on top of it, 22 hand grenades, 4 missiles, and a Laws rocket launcher on it. Now, none of it would work, but it looked tough, and it was a conversation piece. And we have a track called the War Wagon. So you'd pull up, and people would say, "What is that?" And we'd pass them a track. Well, Harold, he loved it. So he said, "I want you to come to my church one Sunday. I want you to dress as tacky as you can, as bad as you can, pull up in my church. Come inside, and I want you to check the mud of my people. I want to see how they treat you." So we did that, and we went in there and saw how they treated us, and then he allowed me to preach a message on Christian kindness. Well, it went over real well. He told a friend about it. Other people told others about it, and it began to spread. And over the space of 16 years now, it was 15 years we wrote the book. Now it's 16 years. We've done the bum thing in 21 states. And hundreds of churches and hundreds of thousands of people have had the opportunity to tell us about Christ. Pastors invite us, so we just don't show up out there. But we spend the night on Saturday night under the portico and the lawn in a cemetery, in the old vehicle, whatever it might be, to see how the people treat us on Sunday morning when the Sunday school and church crowd comes.
You literally look the part of a bum. I mean, you...
Yes, sir. You let this head of hair down.
Yeah. For those who can't see, if you're watching on the internet at afr.net, you can see that Richard has a ponytail, a long ponytail, and you got an earring or two going too, don't you?
Yes, sir.
So I mean,
Yes,
you could pass as you put you different clothes on. You dress pretty nice today, but you put you some different clothes on. You look like a bum.
Like a bum.
That's on purpose.
Gina told me, she said, "You should have dressed up like a bum and just showed up." But we were a little afraid to do that.
Yeah.
But
So you were out there. Here's what I want to get into the stories of your being able to, but I couldn't. You're an actor, basically. You're playing a part here
Yes, sir.
to prove a point.
Yes, sir.
How do you keep a straight face? I guess you've done it so long, you can do it now. But I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm real meek, real humble,
right.
Real timid acting, like I'm fearful of even being on that property. Now, Gina, on the other hand, she can be flat out rude, cold.
Your wife, who's playing the part of your
Yes, it's my sidekick.
yeah.
And
She just.
Oh, she does. She said
That's her alter ego come to life.
she does. Yeah, you don't tell her that.
That's her an excuse just to tell people like it is.
And she does. And she said, Richard said, if you're nice, they'll be nice. But said you got to be cold and see and stretch them. See if they're really.
I see the point.
Come on.
Yeah.
We're talking to Richard Headrick, Headrick. Richard lives in Laurel, Mississippi. He traveled the country. Doing just what he described. And it's fascinating, the stories that he has about his experience at these churches and how people treated him. And it's all contained in this book called America's Churches Through the Eyes of a Bum, the story nobody wanted told. And you can get the book at hellfighters.org. Hellfighters.org. We're serious about that. Now you get this deal here, John. I do want you to participate in the conversation here in just a minute, but I want to ask you one thing.
Yes,
one
sir.
more thing here. The story nobody wanted told.
Yes,
That's at the bottom of your book.
Yes, sir.
Now, what do you mean by that?
Well, the reason that we didn't get it out sooner, it took us about 10 years to decide to get it out because the church crowd, even in the 16 years we've been doing it, is like a different crowd. It's like the golden rule has been forgotten. It's like people will pass you by and not even speak to you and not show that Christian kindness that you're supposed to be shown.
What if they're scared?
And I think that's part of it because of the way we look. I mean, Gina, she's a beautiful lady, but boy, she sleeves down with the best of them, buddy. I guarantee you she can. But we were afraid to let it out because we didn't want anything negative to be thrown up toward the church. I mean,
I
that
see what you're
that's
saying, yeah.
God's bride, and we definitely don't want to do anything to damage that. So we had to do a lot of praying about this before we let it out.
But some of it is somebody walking up to church with their little children and they see these bums over here.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they don't know what to do exactly. But
That's true.
We should. So some of that is, but beyond that, you're saying that a lot of it is because didn't want to be associated with those dirty people.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
That's your point.
Yes, sir. That's the point. And I remember doing one church. Gina was kind of feeling bad, and so I did that church by myself. But Gina came for the service, and here I was dressed as the homeless bum. Gina came dressed as a real nice-looking lady. And when church was over, the pastor said, Gina, how many people spoke to you? And she said, nobody. And he really nailed his church. He said, now, y'all have excuse for not speaking to Richard because he looks so bad. But there's no excuse for you not to speak to a lady that looks as nice as Gina.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
John?
You, in the preface of the book there, you said truly born-again believers are dying off and are being replaced with the think so, maybe, wannabe Christians of tomorrow.
Yes, sir.
It's the church-going crowd, not his people, that snubs us.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Okay, in nearly every church, and we've done hundreds and hundreds of churches, in nearly every church, there's one person that will step up to the plate and do it right. And we've had them from the kids, I'm talking about real youth, through the 30 and 40-year-old people. The older people that in the 60s or 70s, that seems to be the top crowd because they grew up when church was like church, like what I grew up as church. And say your question again now, just.
You know, why do you feel, there's the wannabe Christians of tomorrow? It's a church-going crowd, not as people that snubs us, you know.
And I believe, and I've been told this by several of the you don't call them big shot evangelists, but people that really do this every Sunday, that are actually saying that maybe 75% of the crowd that comes on Sunday is lost because it's not being done like it was in my day. So that's what I'm talking about there. It's people that maybe go for show or they go for what they've always done. It's out of habit and so forth. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Talking to Richard Headrick from Laurel, Mississippi. Headrick. Richard's book is called America's Churches Through the Eyes of a Bum. He and his wife Gina traveled America for 16 years playing the part of bums and oftentimes appearing near churches or right at the church on Sunday morning and seeing how they are treated. And it's not all good. We can learn a lesson from what Richard is trying to communicate here in his book is that we need to be more sensitive to the golden rule and just basic Christian kindness to other people maybe who are less fortunate, who are down on their luck or either are bums. Maybe they are bums. Let me ask you this.